Hello everybody, it's Blitzkrieg and welcome back to Blitzkrieger Faust, and today we are in for yet another glorious NTW3 engagement. Now this was a multiplayer battle on the Meskrich map, and we have 3 French corps versus 3 coalition corps, an Austrian, a British, and a Russian corps. Here we have me. I played 9-point France Rhine, 1799 corps. I'm bringing a bit of cav. We have some beautiful dragoons. I believe it was 3 units of dragoons. Let me make sure. 1, 2, and I believe... Oh, I had more dragoons. 5 units of dragoons. A few light infantry, some trilliers. Mind you, 1799 France dragoons aren't the greatest in the world, but they suffice. And over here we have 10-point France Espagne, so France Spain. Look at these lads. They went for a very heavy infantry build. Some decent cav. We have the Dragoons Les Gardes Capet, and we have some Chasseurs et Cheval. And we had some more dragoons in the rear. These are the really nice dragoons. Over here on the... Oh, we already have some action, looks like. We had some French cav that was scouting out a bit of Russian cav. Look at that. We had some Russian cav. They look like Cossacks. I believe these are Cossacks. Yes, they are the Cossack Lancers. So I was kind of worried about them, so I sent my dragoons forward. Begin setting up my army for a general advance. We have some... Look at those beautiful white horses. These lads. And on the very far flank, right off the bat, we have some Chasseurs et Cheval and some more dragoons squaring off against some very weak Russian Cossack cav. It's not weak when it's taking out skirms, artillery, or a general snipe. This France did bring an artillery battery. We have the artillery Epied Levor Garde, so some guard artillery. This was 8-point France. We have some Chasseurs Epied, a beautiful grenadier unit. Look at these boys. We have the Grenadiers Epied here, some Voltigeurs. Brought a very decent units of Laguerre, Trilliers, more Voltigeurs. Oh, we already have what sounds like a cav charge occurring. We have some Chasseurs et Cheval going after these Lancers. Gonna get an early kill on the Lancers. Look at that. Absolutely running down those Russians. Oh, we have some more Russian Lancers coming out of the woods. Oh my goodness, but they are not going to beat the Chasseurs, I don't think. Oh no, of course we have some dragoons from the French coming in to side charge those Russians. That is beautiful. That Chasseur unit did get out of there for the most part with very limited casualties. And yeah, dragoons in melee are of course going to easily be able to counter those pathetic Russian Cossack units. And that's a great early win, taking out 2 Russian cavalry units in a span of a few seconds. Oh, I don't know what's happening here though. The French are kind of hurting their morale a bit. These units are tired. They need to rest instead of persistently running down. Now let's take a quick peek back over to this army. France Espagne getting into position. Gets a beautiful shot here of this army as it marches. Look at that. Just look at this. This is a beautiful game. Oh, and they brought some artillery of their own. Artillery Cheval, an 8-pounder, looks like. I believe that is an 8-pounder. It's a single artillery piece unit. Now, over here, I was kind of just slowly getting my army down this road. I saw some British cav kind of just sitting here in the distance. I was also getting hit by an artillery unit. I believe no, that's the general. There was an artillery unit that was kind of harassing me a bit, and I really didn't appreciate it. I was getting my trilliers up to the woods lines to skirmish a bit. Already you can see I was squaring up to keep this Russian cav at bay. I did not want that getting in my back line. Persistently forward, I got my dragoons in the front line because we were beginning to see some of UK Portugal's troops here. They were beginning to form up on my flank. Not on my flank, but on my direct forward. I was slowly getting my infantry involved. Here's that artillery piece. This isn't the one that's firing at me, but they did have one firing. I think they brought 2. Yeah, and the British are getting, these are light dragoons, I believe. Not light dragoons, light hussars of some kind. Some UK, some Portuguese troops here. We have some more Brits, redcoats, as you would call them here. Now, if you get a tactical overview here of, well, hold on, let me just... So, this was an LOC battle, line of communication battle. Every location is worth a certain amount of points, and Messercritch was worth 3. Of course, you had some 1-pointers, a 2-pointer. No one's really going for that. We wanted the big money shot. So I'm over here forming up my dragoons for a cav engagement. I think that artillery piece is on this hill here. I was getting my skirmishers involved. Yes, my skirmishers were pushing up. This is the first unit I advanced forward. My trilliers, I wanted to get them into the woods. My other units, I had some cav here, and the rest of this was this 10-point Francis cav. They did turn out to be useful. I would have rather had him guarding my rear, though, honestly. As you can see, I was already taking damage from artillery. I do love 1799 France. Just look at these uniforms. Look at these units, these massive blob units meant for firing engagements. Now here, I don't know what I was thinking. I did take a few casualties because the Brits had some Portuguese line infantry in this building here that was harassing my cav because I wanted to chase off this Russian Cossack unit. I didn't want it getting in my rear. It did eventually just go back to its own lines, but it was still a bit of a pain and I had to worry about it. And we got to bounce back over to this line because there was a bit of a tiny engagement. We kind of had some chasseurs cheval scouting, and they happened to notice Russia brought even more. These are better lancers. Yeah, these are much better lancers, but they're still not as scary as the French dragoons. French did put some provisionals in this building. I think these are provisionals. No, they're more Laguerre. Over here, we had the beginnings of an engagement. Ah, here's that other British artillery piece. Or the one from earlier that was setting up, I should say. We were harassing it with my trilliers. That was kind of the plan, because I didn't want them firing directly at me. So we were just kind of sort of harassing. They were firing what sounded like canister. Yeah, they were firing canister at me, which wasn't killing my men. It was hitting my trilliers a bit. But again, my trilliers have a bit of forest cover, as you can see. Just look at that. That is really intimidating. And we were just kind of popping shots, doing our best here to harass the British. Here's some more of that light cav. Just casually standing in front of their infantry like nothing's wrong. Ah, here's that artillery piece. This was the one that was inflicting casualties. This is an actual British artillery piece, not a Portuguese one. This is the one that was absolutely hounding my cav for a bit, and my infantry as well. And as you can see, I'm getting even more of my infantry involved in this fight. I wanted to get as many men as possible up to this front line because I was confident we could win. UK Portugal is a great faction at shooting, not good at melee. But if you can get right in their face with like mass units and just kind of, here's when they charge my trilliers. They got a great charge off, but we just had significant numbers, and the morale in that cav was kind of crap. We were already firing at them. Oh my gosh, it felt so wrong doing that. Morale in NTW3 is very important, and it's affected by a lot of things, including gunfire, proximity of units, how much damage the unit has already taken. The exhaustion of the unit is important as well. And look at these blobs of French troops. We have some Royal Roussillons, some Deligne Frette, some Bouillon. And I was just getting my men as close as I could. I wanted this artillery piece gone.
Sir, our general is under attack.
My general was also taking damage. They were trying to general snipe me for a second. As you can see, we were beginning to see the Austrian forces. There was a tad bit of an artillery duel here, and they did happen to take out some of the Austrian cav. Now, I don't know how the Russians got so in behind us, but they managed to. Sending up his provisional chasseurs to pretty much psych out all those Austrian dragoons. The firefight continued. My ally God bless him, began sending in his brigade to kind of make these Austrian, these look like these Jaeger? These are either Jaeger or Schützen. But here's where the engagement really started to kind of pop off, I should say. Pop off. The Trilliers were starting to lose morale. They were really losing this fight here. But we were doing quite well otherwise. We noticed that Russian cav just popped on screen for a moment. I forgot about all these Trilliers back here to like the end of the battle. As you can see, I was putting my men in column to avoid taking too many casualties. Some Legion Helvetica. Look at these beautiful red uniforms. The red and the white is so elegant. My units aren't particularly good in melee as 1799 France. We have some that are designed for it. Yes, I'm walking as many men forward in melee as possible. That British gun shredding my Trilliers.
Our men are running, sir.
Yeah, they broke. And the British hold a great artillery position. Look at this stuff right here. This is the good shit. This is why I loved NTW3. This is a bit of unit crossing. They're probably killing a few of their own, honestly. Not really, but they're absolutely hounding me. Just look at this position. Let me get a good shot there. My men should be opening fire. Yep, we're going to see them. And volley. That is just absolutely brutal. And they are beginning to fall back. For most of this battle, we had the British on a bit of a back foot. Now, over here, this was kind of a poor move on 8-Point France, the 1814 Corps. We have some Guard Trilliers here. These are beautiful uniforms. Look at the red plumes. These are Voltigeurs. They were getting flanked by the Austrians who had an artillery piece here. You just can't see it. Now, Austrian units aren't really known for being typically good in any kind of combat, unless they're in mass. And my ally, 10-Point Espagne France, began to flank and absolutely push onto this position with the British. I'm getting outflanked here. My forces are getting shot in the side of the British here, who are absolutely slaughtering me. Just watch what happens here. Beautiful. Team German Legion. I think they are. Or either they're not grasshoppers. Grasshoppers are a lighter team. That is brutal. Brutal gunfire on my lines. We had some more routing over here. Yeah, that was my cav unit. We kind of missed that charge, but I charged, took out a British cav unit. It wasn't that important. It was an equal exchange. Wasn't a very good one on my part. We had this Russian cav that I happened to notice. My dragoons were out of position, by the way. I didn't notice until the last second. And my dragoons ended up winning this fight. It's not a very eventful or climactic fight, but it is a fight. My dragoons first took on this unit here, routed it. They charged my dragoons in the side. I lost like 30 men in this engagement here, but I managed to rout both of the Russian Cossack units. Just look at that. We routed both units of the Cossacks. This was a more important fight than that. More British cav coming around the flank. I had to form square with my units on the side and bring up this one. I quickly rushed over my Dragoons LeBlanc. These beautiful white horses. So my square was getting shots into the side of their cav, and I think they kind of just held them here.
This battle is almost done.
And we absolutely stomped this British unit. And my lines are looking a bit shaky here. In all honesty, I could have had better line positioning. I thought this unit was going to break. Then I noticed my Dragoons were doing absolute work. They were kind of losing at first until I brought in the Dragoons Lorraine. And then we rout this British unit here. And my infantry gets some decent side shots on that British cav. They brought in more cav. Let's take a quick look at these lines over here. So that fight's unfolding there. It's just a long series of line battles. I can barely hear over the gunfire. We were routing British units, taking out British cav, and we're going to pop back over here. This is where it starts to heat up a bit. So on the Russian flank, you have all these chasseurs and cavalry squaring off against Russian masses of like hussars, and mostly I'd say that's all Cossacks now that I think about it. But this was a problem. I was worried about this shit, this massive Russian unit. The Russians kind of went for a mass build. Now over here against Austria, nothing too eventful was happening. It's mostly just a standoff. a waiting game. Austria was shifting troops to help the British on this front. The British were getting pressed hard. We had some chasseurs taking out these Grenzers. But it was a bloody uphill fight. You can see these boys getting ready to absolutely mow down the British troops there. The British were completely falling back. Me and my ally had the British on the run here. I kind of saw that that gun was vulnerable, so I was pushing up Dragoons Lorraine. The line fight was going very well. We were outflanking them. I was getting my men into a better formation, kind of pulling some men out of combat because they were getting really badly beaten. My ally was doing exceptionally well. He was getting his men directly involved. Look at those British lines collapsing there. Men are just getting shot left and right. That is beautiful. Look at these volleys, these beautiful men. Oh, I love the French and the British uniforms. There's just something about it. But as you can see, we are kind of bottling up the British here. The British did have some cav that was kind of worrying me a bit, so I was pulling more of my cav over to the flank. We have all my dragoons are coming over here. I finally noticed the tirailleurs were still in the back, so I pulled them forward. And the tirailleurs do play an important part later in this battle. That was over here. Yes, this unit of Oriental kind of broken. I was going to fill them in with these ones. Just kind of pulling men where I could. Kind of trying our best to get up this hill. Long lines. Oh, I love this unit. Look at the navy blue with that green. We were fighting a literal uphill fight against the British. The British kind of held both the forest advantage. Ooh, that's not good. They held the forest advantage. Oh, and we had a charge here from some Austrian dragoons against the French square, which is great on our part because that square is going to easily defeat these dragoons. Yeah, these dragoons are going to be absolutely, yep, they broke, so that is another unit down. We are still fighting up this hill. España, France is moving forward. I'm getting my cav in a position. That is going to easily wipe out that French unit. We have an engagement going on over here. Yup, we have some... Oh my gosh, a massive cav charge from the French here. Look at this. This is going to flatten these weak militia units. Ooh, this is going to be great. Oh yeah, look at that red line. Chasseurs et Cheval and Provincial Dragoons. They're kind of redlining though. That's a bit concerning. They are provincials, but... Ooh, that is nasty from that militia. I think that's Falanchi as well. A lot of those units routing. That French unit, the cav did rout. It's not going to matter once this really good French infantry gets involved. Look at the Voltigeurs. I want to get a frontal view of this. Come on, boys. Fire. Yes. That is a freaking massive unit. If you put that all the way out in line formation, they're going to do some damage. Over here, I think I missed this, actually. Let's look back this way. Yeah, my cav, I didn't lose the cav unit. I kept persisting. I took out the artillery that was positioned on this hill, and I kind of lined up to hopefully get another shot at that French troops. Now here, the British began collapsing. My ally was pushing aggressively to the Austrian lines, kind of redlining in some places. We are losing a bit of ground here. That is beautiful. Just look at that. Sorry, long spot. Look at that. So of course I had him, well, he had himself pushing up. The British are forming a bit of a noob formation, but it's what they had to work with. And they got that artillery piece out of there, surprisingly enough, but I had taken out that other one, as you can no doubt tell. I just kind of persisted the advance. I was encircling them. Here come the tirailleurs. Back over this way, it was looking okay. 1814 France is spread a bit thin, because he's all the way over here, but he's also over there. Here's this artillery piece, this massive battery that was absolutely hounding. Oh, we had some French cav chasing off. Looks like, ooh, yeah, those guys are dead. French cav came in for clutch. They were still battling against the Russians over here. I mean, obviously, training is going to come in. Ooh, these are some flanker chasseurs. Beautiful chasseurs. These strong, beefy Frenchmen. doing... Oh, this is just a disgusting unit as well. But once it gets hit... Oh, hey, I missed this almost. I'm not missing this. I swear to you, I'm not missing it. Nothing interesting is really happening over here besides me kind of harassing this British artillery piece. Oh, that fucking canister shot is devastating. So the British... UK Portugal is falling back by this point. He was holding back my ally here. And my ally was doing his best, 10-point España. Well, I should say Spanish campaign France, but that's kind of a mouthful. So he was setting up over here to completely bottleneck the Brits. See, this gunfight continues. Had a howitzer going off. The French cav went in for a failed charge with some chasseurs. No, these are dragoons. It did not get very far. It kind of got shot to pieces. Artillery is absolutely blasting the dragoons here. They did not make it very far. We did happen to notice that the Russians still had Cossack units in our rear. Now, over here, it didn't matter too much because, again, we had a bit of a... These chasseurs at Pied are so fucking beautiful. Anyway, what was I doing? Right. We had the cavalry advantage, artillery advantage, and we wiped this unit. These units have very bad stats in general, but it's just the fact that they're massive and have so many guns. Routing the skirmisher units here and there. Back over this way. We went in for a charge. They formed square with a unit. Kind of shot my cav in the back there. And we just kept the... We kind of had to fall back a bit because I was kind of worried. I had my dragoons pulled. I had some cav over here. Yeah, there's that damn canister shot. I was trying to get close enough to hopefully kill it. It just was not going my way. My general was being shot at. Catching some strays here and there. We were a tad bit worried about the Austrians because I had noticed while the Austrians were falling back, they still had an artillery piece. I believe this was they had a howitzer somewhere, but they had this artillery position here. They had another dragoon unit over here, pretty decent sized one as well. And Russia was distracting 8-point France. And we were still very worried about the backlines Russian Cossacks. I did notice it, and España France had his men pulled back a bit to deal with it. But I was distracted with this huge gunfight. This gunfight lasted for what felt like an eternity. Here's the Legion Helvetica again. And every time my ally pushed, I would wait and fire a volley into the backs of the Brits. Ooh, here's some Brunswickers. I think these are the Brunswickers. They are the Brunswickers. Oh, I love these boys with the skulls on their cap. Artillery firing off over here. And yeah, Portuguese artillery broke. We had almost completely killed off, yeah. Shot me in the back, but I got some UK Portugal troops. They still had cav. And I kind of realized that last second. I began pulling back. This was a spare unit I had, but I saw the British were sending forward a unit of cav. Let me just look across the map, see if I'm missing anything. Not particularly. I kind of had 1814 France with the veterans, L2s. A lot of veterans, Garde Nationale. 1814 France was kind of split in two, in all honesty. But we were doing just fine. We had pushed the Brits off this hill. España France was moving rapidly. I saw this, right? I saw the Brits charge my dragoons over here and got them. I believe they killed them. But then I charged the backs of his cav and routed it. So he may have gotten my one unit. And I was pulling out of combat here. I was trying to attack, but the unit was just not responding to commands. We had kept advancing here, and we took out this unit. This unit was just decimated. He was trying to run away because he saw a healthy unit, and then he just broke. So at this point in the battle, we were pretty confident that the Brits were on the complete back foot. They fell back to this really good hill position. France España was already waiting for him by this point. We were shooting him in the back. He had no hope, but he was determined to hold this damn hill. Austria was just split all over the damn place. Getting some beautiful shots here. So it was just a firefight here, but I was very confident in my allies. We were shredding the Austrians. Just look at that. Beautiful firing line there. Artillery was kind of hounding my men. Well, his men, I should say. They were getting kind of devastated. Over here, 1814 France was now making a very bold advance with some decent troops against Austria, who was just kind of standing here. I guess he was ignoring some of his men and bringing up others. Ooh, I think we're going to have that cav engagement I was talking about. I am keeping an eye. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, so 10-point España, France had some wall deck infantry kind of watching the backs. Trying to remember. Right. I parked my cav in the woods just in case, and I just began the beginning of my encirclement, and I held a lot of my men in the rear because, you know, I didn't really need them. We were doing just fine. Got some beautiful shots here. So yeah, UK Portugal was surrounded here, fighting on multiple fronts. Here comes that French infantry. That is a terrifying sight for any man. We got more France España coming up the hilltops, routing any Austrian infantry possible. And this was... okay, I missed a bit of a cav charge, but it probably wasn't that big. He just took out some infantry. Mind you, my ally was still very much aware. Oh, the poor Chasseurs at Pied getting blasted. My ally was very much aware, even though his dragoons are all the way over here, the 8-point France was very much aware of all this. Is this unit back, or is this a different unit? He's also... is he running, or is he walking? It doesn't matter. Let's pop back in over here. Again, the British are reforming their lines. They had more than we thought. He is kind of shooting his artillery, but fine. Look at these boys. I don't even know what this is. I haven't memorized. I know this is the Portuguese line infantry because of the dark blue. Some of the British units have weird names. I know the Brunswickers are the ones with the blacks with the skulls. Here they are. This is more Portuguese, some more Brits, but we had them on the back foot. My cav didn't really do much here. Okay, I think something's happening over here. The Cossacks are moving around. We have more French cav coming to the back, some chasseurs and some dragoons. This France made a very bold push. This is an awkward Austrian formation here. It's a bit of unit crossing going on. There's a possibility you could shoot your own men in the back or get a lot of collateral damage off your own men from being shot. This is an interesting tactic from the French here. Let's get a shot down the line. Get a slow panning shot. We have firing back at the massive British formation. At this point, I was just trying to get as many men up here to outflank the British, because they were starting to win the shooting engagements. Just look at that. Look at that position on the hill there. That is stunning. The Brunswickers appear to be moving. I believe the British are beginning to swap formation a bit. Because, oh, here's an Austrian cav charge under some poor, unexpected Italian Leguers. And the French are now bringing up cav. That's a massive dragoon unit back there. I didn't even notice that. So we did... 10-point España, France brought up some men to deal with that Austrian cav, and he did deal with them. Here's where I sent my cav further around to the back line, hoping to get some strikes. So we did end up routing. These units kind of routed themselves a bit, because he kind of formed square and we get shot his own men in the back. So we formed 2 squares to deal with them. We did end up routing this Austrian unit. I believe, when did that Lancer unit come out of the woodwork? I know it did at some point. So yeah, the line fight just kind of continued for a while. España, France taking the bulk of his men. Poor King German Legion. I think that, oh yeah, that is devastating. Men being shot left and right. These poor Portuguese. Got the howitzers going off. This is getting a little intense. Oh, we didn't rout that unit. Okay, he did end up... We ended up killing it eventually. He just kind of formed a line with the Laguerre and just blasted him. Look at that. Oh my gosh, that killed like 4 men. Let's pop back in over here. We had some more honestly light fighting going on. Not a whole lot happening. We have whatever the hell this was. The veterans dueling off against some Austrians. That man is definitely dead. That was a musket ball to the neck if I've ever seen one. Ooh, those men getting shot in the air. That is Garde Nationale routing. They are just a militia unit technically. It's not too big of a deal, but I think 1814 France was getting worried that his men were going to get shredded. 1814 isn't the best. It's got a lot of high-tier grenadiers. All right, this is that Russian unit. Caught my dragoons off guard. And I was like, okay, time to panic, because I saw more dragoons and British cav in the rear. So I was panic maneuvering my men. So over here we have more routing Laguerre. That's Laguerre. That's the big one. The 47th E. So France España was kind of starting to lose the shooting match. However, I was doing excellent. Just look at this position. I heard in the rear the most terrifying sound a man could hear. I was rushing my cav. I mean, I was hitting the brakes on what was happening. I saw these Russian lancers and I was like, no, absolutely not. Let us form up a defensive shield. I had my general here, so I didn't want him to die, so I formed up around him. There was a massive rout from some of España France's men, but he was still holding with the Italian Pavea here in the center. Kind of actually been into red line. Firefighting here is intense, but this was a bit troublesome, this positioning. So I was getting my trilliers, as you can see, my trilliers bringing them from over here to the flank. I still saw a re-rallied British unit, and I was like, oh, let me go for that. So back over this way, what do we have? We have absolutely nothing, because the Russians aren't that bold. And he was beginning to move flancachaches. We have some Laguerre, provincials, more Voltigeurs, massive artillery battery, again, demolishing anything that came in its path. So, 1814 France had completely fallen back. These are Garde Trilliers. What are these boys? Legion Refica. Very interesting units here. Let me actually focus on the battle. Units were redlining for France España. We had a massive Russian cav charge in the rear. He formed square, but his men were getting routed. This Russian unit did some severe damage before getting routed. It managed to break 2 units, which is not good for us. But however, I had a plan. I had already, wiped out this one poor British unit got caught out in the open. It was a British, this is a light dragoon, or a light hussar, that's a something, but his light cav got stomped by my dragoons. And I immediately pulled them back. We shot this Russian cav to pieces. I was having to fill in wherever I could. I immediately brought most of these men to push onto the flank. UK Portugal was falling back rapidly. However, when some of his men placed the hold and beat back France España's troops. But again, didn't matter too much. His back was also exposed, but France España was really struggling here. His men were routing. I don't know why he didn't lose his general. See, I was bringing in my Helvetica, my Meridol. I'm probably pronouncing these wrong, but I was bringing in more of my infantry to support him and hopefully fire into the flanks. But I think UK Portugal noticed this and began pulling back. However, he's still getting shot. I was completely encircling the British. We were cutting them off utterly and completely. I had my men in column. I had my trilliers on the far flank. However, this was still not completely decided yet. Mind you, I didn't think I was going to win in the long run, just because of the fact that usually you don't outshoot the British. They outshoot you. Ooh, yeah, men are just still getting blasted. We were not seeing a ton of success. Not a lot of movement was happening. 1814 France was beginning to move more troops in this direction to encircle the British. However, excuse me, Austria was poised on holding this side at all costs. He was running off some, looks like running off some French chasseurs with some dragoons, which is not smart, because mind you, that French artillery is still over here. 1814 France still has a lot to offer, because the Russians, that unit got killed at some point, not like it really matters. We still don't know what Russia had up its sleeve, at least I didn't on my flank. As you can see, more of 1814 is now arriving, mostly Garde Nationale, and we are still skirmishing off against the Austrians and the Brits in the woods here. Absolutely devastating firefight. We're kind of running a bit crazy with our troops. We're filling in wherever we can. Want to watch a good volley. We had pretty much cut off. Some of my units were still breaking. We were still losing men. However, this is the promising flank. We are volley after volley out-shooting the British. However, I didn't have too much to worry about. My allies still had a ton of troops. Even though the British... Are they moving the Brunswick? These aren't the Brunswickers. I want to find the Brunswickers again. Where are those boys? There they are. This is a loud-ass firefight, too. Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, they were surrounded. There was a bit of a cav charge here. I did decide to make a cav charge to possibly catch this this infantry unit off guard. It did not work. The Russians... Oh, my gosh, that man got flung. The Russians... I don't know what they did here. That was a dragoon. I mean, not a dragoon. That was a lancer unit, and it charged into some guard trilliers and kind of got killed. That's not a lancer. That's a hussar, I think. They didn't have lances. The howitzer already was a bit annoying. Oh, let's see. I want to get a trillier. That is beautiful. Absolutely grilling those boys up there. That is brutal fighting we have going on here. I hear melee sounds, but I don't know where that's coming from. Looks like the Austrians are beginning to move back. Is that cav still over there? Yeah, it's facing off against provincial dragoons who are being shot at by a militia unit by the Russians. And that's not the important fight. This is where it all boiled down. As you can see, we have them bottlenecked and surrounded. We are taking casualties. We are seeing some redlining and routing. And this Cossack unit's still in my back lines. And I don't think I had a ton. Well, no, I did have this unit of dragoons here. So yeah, the fighting persisted over here for quite a while. This kind of became a skirmishing match. See how many times we could shoot till the other player just backed up. And once we backed them up far enough, since this was an LOC battle, we just kind of win. Now, the Austrians did hold a significant position on this hill. They were kind of wooling us over here in all reality. No matter how many times they shot at us, we kind of outflanked France España. These Austrians are just so bad. He made a brave melee charge. This was a stupid yet brave melee charge that ultimately didn't really pay off, because they kind of noticed, but that was because we had the British falling all the way back, and we were making very bold maneuvers, and I was just kind of chasing off that Cossack unit. Yeah, see, brave yet not very good charge. It did break this massive Austrian unit, but again, Austrians held the hill, and we killed a general. Oh, it was the Russian general, of course it was. Yeah, again, artillery is blasting us to bits. Infantry is kind of getting a bit, you know, it's a bit, the morale is kind of weak over here, as you can no doubt tell from some units beginning to rout or redline, but it didn't matter to me. I wanted a full advance into this tree line. The British were running for their lives, the Austrians. I believe that was that was us running down what was left of that Russian cav. I don't really know what the Russians brought or what point the Russian was. This doesn't look like a high point Russia. I don't think it is, but they have some... Oh, the Shashos of Pied, they're still alive. Good, I love that. Cheval, we got some more Voltigeurs, healthy Voltigeurs, by the way. These are full strength units for most of them. Chashos. That's not a... Oh, I keep getting these amazing shots of the artillery ripping through these men. That is a breaking unit if I've ever seen one. Austria's got a good flanking position on us, honestly. That is impressive. Yeah, artillery in NTW3 is lethal. I love how Trilliers, guard Trilliers as well, are kind of losing a firefight to crappy Austrian infantry. Yeah, losing slightly. Winning slightly, surprisingly, the Trilliers are. The Brits came back out of the woods to face us. They are kind of absolutely grilling my Delicte. Yeah, and there goes that's kind of a weak unit, though. And I was spreading out my men to get more firepower, but it was affecting their morale quite a bit. This is, mind you, it's a healthy unit. We're only about 47, never mind, 49 men down. Yeah, oh, and I charged the back of my own men, which wasn't really smart, but I wanted to go for this Austrian infantry, and it did not. I got the British unit, I routed that. This was just not worth the charge. This was a dumb idea by me on my part. It just did not accomplish much. Yeah, that did not accomplish much. Never do that, guys. Never charge the backs of your own men in a full infantry position while you're still shooting. That unit got routed unnecessarily. I could have gone in the back line with it, but at this point I didn't care too much. Because again, winning the firefight, I am now actually fully encircling them. I brought the Trilliers up to about here. Let's see if I actually do it. There we go. Over here, Austria is still duking it out with these massive lines of troops. And they were surprisingly beating back France. 1814 France was now on the run again. Even though they have more men flying across the map, they kind of blasted their own men there with that artillery. The artillery was still a bit of a pain for us. Yeah, that was another unit. That was Francis-Spagna, who absolutely shatters this Austrian line. Look at this. This is a beautiful cav charge. This is what I mean. This is what I should have done. He's going to rout both of these units. Yep, he's going down the line. This healthy unit of cav is going to go down the line, smashing. He should just go for the artillery. Is that the British general? It is. The British general is now getting involved. And that Dragoon unit got routed, but it doesn't matter. They did so much damage. Here come the Brunswickers again. Yep, Brunswickers are broken. The British are still, however, fighting in this tree line, doing the best they can here. Getting some really good kills, but it does not matter. This battle is essentially decided. We were now flanking into the British here. The Austrian lines have been cracked and are now battering themselves with artillery. Yeah, look at that. They're shooting themselves at this point. They're like, oh, quick, we have to kill as many men as possible. Okay, does our own work? Yep, that counts, I guess. We're killing something. Make it look like an accident. Yeah, it is just execution. This is just execution for the British forces. They do not stand a chance over here, and there they go. They are breaking. Mind you, this is one of my first NTW3 battles. I've only done a handful at this point, but I was getting better at the game. I was learning. Now we're just kind of farming the British. It doesn't feel right, but we were doing it anyhow. I'm still being shot. Was that myself doing that? Are we shooting each other in the back? That's not very French. That's more of a British thing to do, I suppose. Yeah, artillery is still hitting. They're still shooting their own with artillery, but you know, it's fine. They might as well just surrender. There are healthy units. Well, healthy. One man apparently died of a heart attack on the way over here. 94 out of 95 on a Laguerre unit. Interesting how that happened, but got some French dragoons kind of lurking about. At this point in the battle, it was just a matter of clean. We've got a melee charge with some Voltigairs. This is not a melee unit, but it's going to rout the artillery crew anyway. And I'm still shooting for some reason. I am pushing up. Oh, no, this is 1814. Some Garde Nationale. Where's the rest of 1814? Where's the rest of España? There he is. He's kind of... I mean, he got absolutely battered this fight. I feel so bad for him because I just was not moving fast enough. Now we're just head-on advancing. I heard artillery shots. Oh, yep. That's where it was. That wasn't good. It's that howitzer, I think. Yeah, it is that damn howitzer. So at this point in the fight, we were just trying to clean up what was left of Austria. He had some line infantry going into melee against Volta. Fem alert. It's whatever. It's the end of the fight. What is this lone unit of Austrian infantry going to do against Grenadiers at Pied? Probably nothing. That's the Dillig and Toscans. Yeah, you're not surviving. Look at that red line. You see that shit? You think you're making it out of... Nope. Just run. It's not worth your life. Yeah, at this point in the fight, it was a cleanup. It was just a cleanup process. Let us skip forward. And we are at the end. Shout out to Napoleon Ear, my amazing ally playing France España. He was the 10-point. I was playing France Rhine, the 9-point. He didn't get as many kills as me, mind you. But he did an amazing job. Congratulations to Anna Juice for getting the most kills this fight, for mostly farming those massive Russian units, but, you know. And big shout out to my enemy team. I don't know what... Okay, that was an 8-point Russia? Man, that just felt... How did they deploy the least? Oh, it's fine. You had UK Portugal, who absolutely fought their hearts out. They got the most kills this entire game. They also deployed, surprisingly, almost the same number as us. Then you got El Captain playing Österreich, Austria, the other 10-point, who managed to get... Were they outpointed? 10-8-9, 10-9-8. No, they were equal points, surprisingly enough. This is originally supposed to be a 4v4, but it ended up being a 3v3. I believe I hosted... No, Napoleon Air hosted, I remember now. But this is a good fight. Most kills on my team goes to 191 on the Dragoons, the Rhine. Of course, this was a beautiful fight. Congrats to all the players, and if you guys want to see more Napoleon Total War replays, like and subscribe. I don't know, leave a comment. Tell me what you want to see, and we'll try to set something up. Anyway, guys, this has been Blitzkrieg. You're watching Blitzkrieger Faust, and Toodles.